Howdy folks, welcome back to Boondockery. I am off on an overnight wild camp at my secret fun spot. And this will be the first time I'll be using any portions of the Snug Pack Special Forces sleep system. And I'll tell you more about that when we get to camp. I had a very, very chaotic day and got a very late start on everything. And right now it's looking like it's about 3:30, and it usually gets dark here around 5, a little after. We have had dense cloud cover for the past several days. It's rained the past 3, and today was the first day it didn't actually rain, but we have some very dense cloud cover. And tonight the only moon that will be visible is just a sliver of a crescent. So once it gets dark, it's going to be very, very dark. I have never hiked back into or out of the secret fun spot in the dark, and hopefully I'll be able to at least get to where I want to camp tonight before it actually gets dark. I have my headlamp ready just in case. And if this is your first time watching, the terrain in my secret fun spot is incredibly rugged and potentially quite lethal. And so this doesn't really thrill me, but I'm not going to let this moment pass. I don't get very many of them, so I'm going to go ahead and make the best of what I got. I decided to go ahead and camp at a spot I've camped before, just simply because I know right where it is. I don't have to scout anything out. I will have, excuse the camera, a lot of branches in the way. I am going to a spot that I know has a very close water source, and even though everything is absolutely soaked, there are some deadfall very near that particular rock shoulder I'm going to camp in. That it's decent sized branches on it, so I'll be able to cut those and baton them to get some good usable dry fuel for my fire. And I've really kicked it into gear since I parked. I got off of the logging trail portion of it, which actually was nothing but ruts and mud, which is crazy because it's been years and years since there's been any vehicle traffic on there. Just all game now, deer, what have you. But that's the only traffic that's on that trail. But all of the undergrowth that is normally on that trail is now has died back enough to where it no longer presents itself as an impediment, and I was able to get through that portion fairly quick, even though everything here in the forest, I mean, it's very, very squishy and slippery. I'm just completely avoiding stepping on any rocks or any deadfall, which there are plentiful deadfall here, just simply because I don't want to wind up on my back. As of right now, got a ways to go. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off and focus on the trail. And I'll bring you back when I get to camp. Well, folks, I made it before dark. I don't know how quickly it's going to get that way. I made pretty good time. I made really great time down this one incline because I wound up hill surfing all the way down. I didn't fall. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. That would have been really, really bad. It was very, very slippery. Very, very slippery. And a little more steep than what I remembered. But apart from having a dirty, wet bottom, I'm good. I'm very good. I was looking around the rock shelter after I ground on my pack, and there are a lot of little puddles from where the ceiling is dripping. And I'm going to try to locate where those are. They're at the very, very back part of the rock shelter, like when it starts narrowing down really, really close. It appears to be pretty dry back there. Some rocks, I can move those out of my way, but I should be able to sleep there without being dripped on. And hopefully all that will work out. It's supposed to be 41 degrees as an overnight low this evening. And I got, like I said in some of my other videos, the weatherman rarely ever gets it right here. It's usually a little cooler. I'm about halfway down the ridge in a rock shelter. I don't know if that's going to make the felt temperature conditions warmer or cooler than the air temperature up on top of the ridge. Haven't got a clue. I guess we're going to find out. There's all kinds of things we're going to find out with this overnighter. And hopefully it'll all turn out good. And if not, hey, tragedy makes great YouTube, right? I don't like that. I want tragedy. I want to have a nice, laid-back, relaxed, good time, and meet any challenges that come my way. Okay. First priority I need to do is I need to take a real quick breather, get some water in me, and then I need to get fuel for my Firebox stove, and I need to get some water for the camp tonight. As long as it's you know, light enough for me to see my face in that little screen beside my camera, I'll go ahead and keep filming. If not, I brought a couple extra headlamps that I'm going to try to attach to my tripod and make, you know, a makeshift camera light out of it. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, we're going to take it as it comes. Wow, that water is ice cold. Wow. And my hands are freezing, my feet are soaked. In case I haven't mentioned it, these water bottle lids are very difficult to keep threaded. I got water. Well, I guess we'll see if my spotlight headlamp camera lighting works or not. Now, what I had found as far as deadfall goes was an old hemlock, and it had been there for a while, and the exterior of the branches I cut off were a little pulpy, and that's perfectly fine. That's what it does. And all I have to do is to scrape off. I'm using the my silky saw, fold it up, the blade's inside so it's not going to bend the blade, and I'm just using the back of the blade to scrape off that pulpy stuff. And once I do that, I'm going to cut it into usable lengths and then baton it, and then I should have good usable firewood for my firebox. Now, the beautiful thing about using the firebox is I'm not going to need nearly the fuel that I would normally use for like a campfire. So I'm going to go ahead and knock this out. Well, this is where time in the woods really, I mean, it pays off. The more time you spend in the woods, the more you're going to learn, and especially around your environment. And fortunately for me, I have a very diverse areas of forest, all different kinds of forests. This particular forest, just about everything here is hemlock. And you get further up on the ridge, you know, there's other types of trees, maple, hickory, oak, what have you. But it's pretty good climb. As it was, I had to climb up 2 tiers of this hillside in order to get to where those deadfalls were. Now, hemlock, the way that will start rotting out is it goes in underneath the fibrous portion of the bark, and it just starts loosening up in layers. And I've gotten all of the stuff processed to where it's essentially just the final scraping that needs to be done, and I'm going to be doing that after I cut it to size. Get that final little bit off, and it is super hard. And once you get that pulpy stuff off the surface of it, and I especially the larger stuff I baton out, it's going to be excellent firewood. Now, this stuff is very fibrous. It's very pulpy. Now, unlike a lot of non-deciduous types of trees, you can actually take this stuff when it's good and dry, and it will actually hold an ember, just like good hardwood punkwood will. And you can hold an ember on that, and you can start a fire with that, but it absolutely has to be 100% dry. This stuff is very damp. There's no way in the world I could use this for that. I mean, if I didn't already have all kinds of punkwood at the house, I could actually take a bunch of this back in a little ditty bag, lay it out in the garage, let it dry for a few days, and throw that in my fire kit. I've cut a few pieces, and I'm just going to bring them over to you so you can see how dry they are. I don't know how well you can see this, if it's going to come in focus or not. It's very foggy. Anyway, it's very dry. And let's go ahead and baton one of them for you real quick so you can see how dry the interior is. Like I said, it's been raining for 3 days solid. Yesterday it stopped raining around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it mostly just drizzled yesterday. But the day before that, and the day before that, I mean, it just poured. As you can see, the waterfall is running really good. And again, I have no idea how well you're going to be able to see this. There we have really good, usable firewood. It's perfectly dry. And I'm going to go ahead and process the rest of this stuff. And that's probably going to take me about half an hour, 45 minutes. And then I'll try to get a fire started. Well, it is good and dark now. I processed all the wood that I'm going to use tonight. And one drawback with using the Firebox, since it is so small, it involves a lot more sawing. Now, Hemlock is hard. I mean, it's very hard. And so once I got everything sawed in the small little pieces, got everything split, so I got that good dry spot on the inside, everything done. Apart from the hike in, that a little bit of extra exertion. My base layer is pretty much soaked, so once I get the fire going, probably going to go ahead and shed my anorak and allow my base layer to go ahead and evaporate dry. And that's the best thing about moisture wicking base layers, is that your body heat will allow it to dry. Now, even though it is incredibly wet out here, and the humidity doesn't feel that bad. There's a bit of a chill in the air, but the humidity doesn't seem to be as high as it has been when I've been out here. Well, let's see if we can get about getting some supper started. Let's set my base firebox up. Turn it right there. Do it in. Now, I bet you can't guess what kind of fire I'm going to use. That's right, upside down fire. Now, I have no idea how good this lighting situation is going to be. In the past, I've had zero low light condition footage going on. It's just, you know, just haven't been able to find anything affordable and practical enough for me to be able to use for this. Not going to do anything fancy as far as the fire starting goes. I'm just going to use a couple of my fire starters I made. They burn good and hot enough to be able to get these smaller pieces started with no problem whatsoever. Well, that was almost like it had some type of a petroleum-based fuel. Just the spark off of that got it going. There we go. Let that get going good. Get some of these smaller pieces I cut up on there. You know, even just the fire starters, I'm feeling nice warmth. Well, I certainly hope this lighting situation works out because it's very affordable. It's not exactly what I was wanting, but you know, we gotta adapt and overcome. The Hemlock doesn't seem to be burning really fast. It's burning well, and it's just burning slow. But it's producing almost an incense quality of aroma to the smoke. The smell is absolutely fantastic. It's a very pleasant aroma. But even if it continues this burning rate, it's going to burn for a very long time, which is perfectly fine because what I had to cook tonight, I do need one item that's going to boil, but I don't mind waiting a while for it to come up to temperature. You know, I'm here all night. And right now it's not even 6 o'clock yet. And it is pitch black. And got this, you can't see it from your angle, but I have like the perfect little jet of smoke coming over here. And anyway, once it starts going a little bit more, I want to go ahead and break out what I'm going to have tonight, which I'm going to tell you I'm going to have a wonderful dinner of ground beef and black shin noodles with beef bone broth. Super simple, but it tastes absolutely fantastic. It'll be just the thing to fill me up, get me warmed up before I settle down for bed. We've got a good bit of coals going now, and I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of the fire sticks on here. Now I switched over to a dry pair of work gloves because if I have to move these fire sticks and I'm using wet gloves to do it with, that heat is going to go right through that wet fabric and it's going to burn. So I got a dry pair of leather fingered gloves, and we're going to go ahead and get the ground beef in the skillet. I'm using my Trangia cook set skillet because it's a little smaller. There's some nice 80-20 ground beef. Put that in the skillet before I put it on the fire. And I would say it's going to start sizzling real quick. It's just fine with me. Close that draft up a little bit. Yeah, she's starting to sizzle good now. I got the stove as level as I could, but it's still a little bit off. Well, the ground beef is completely cooked. We're going to just set that off to the side. I'm going to prep my stove for a cook pot. And we're going to go ahead and take those fire sticks out. They're going to be good and warm. I'll run those right through. Top notches. The fire is burned down to the perfect amount that I need to be able to put this next little attachment on. Okay. Put this one in there. There we go. And those fire sticks are good and hot. Okay, those are in position. And I have yet to burn myself. And that is now locked into position. Got my cook pot and everything ready to go. I'm going to be making some Nong Shim premium noodle soup, which is Shin Black with beef bone broth. Now, I am not going to make this according to the directions. I'm not going to leave the noodles in their pristine state. I want to be able to eat them with a spoon. So I'm going to crunch all these up as well as I possibly can. I'm going to put some water in the cook pot. I need about 500 milliliters. I guess we'll take the lid off. Don't really like taking the lids off of these floppy ones because when you're trying to unscrew the lid, a whole bunch of it wants to come out. Okay, got that in there. Now I'm going to put the noodles in. And save the special packets for later. Go ahead and put the cook pot on there. And the lid. Now the coals are dying down, so I use the cross feed method with a few sticks, and this seems to really be doing a great job. I'm going to add my seasonings now because it's look good and steamy. Don't necessarily want it to come to a complete boil, I just want it to simmer. Again, not per directions. That's the way I found that I like to cook it, and it works very well for me. That's the regular black soup base. This is the spicy stuff, which you can leave out, but I want all the flavor. And we got a little vegetable packet here. Mushrooms and Chinese seasonings. I'm just going to go ahead and push all that down in there. Give it a good stir. I'll put the lid back on there for a few minutes. The nice thing about the fire sticks, you use them for everything. All kinds of different things. Nice little pot hook there. Now the noodles came to a boil, and I took them off of the fire. Right here. And what I'm going to do is I move the beef off to the side here. Now I'm going to spoon on quite a few of the noodles into the skillet. If I can get all of them on there, that would be great. I think I'll just go ahead and try pouring them on there, because eventually I am going to be eating 100% of this. Little shy there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ladle some of that beef into the little cook pot proportionately. And that will be my second helping. Now I'm just going to blend all that together. If I had a larger cook pot, I'd just go ahead and incorporate the beef into the noodles. Let them cook for a little while together. But trying to go light and small with this stuff this time. And I have big plans for big cooking in the future.
Let's just go ahead and taste this delectable cuisine.
All right, that's pretty dang good right there, buddy. I tell you right now, oh yes. Oh yes. Now, if you've not tried the Black Shin, and it's not that more expensive than, well, a little bit more expensive than regular ramen, but it is a zillion times tastier. And that bone broth packet that you put in there sort of thickens it up a little bit. Has just enough spiciness to make it interesting. All the other flavors go together fantastic. And just by adding the ground beef, it just makes it more of a meal instead of a side dish. I had full hopes of doing this in daylight. It would make things a whole lot easier all the way around. But best laid plans, right? That's one bad thing about this time of year is that you have so little daylight, and you know, you sit around for 2-3 hours in the dark, you get bored, so well, I might as well go to bed. Well, it's almost 8 o'clock, and so that means you wake up at like 3:30 or 4:30 in the morning, and you're like completely wide awake and bored. But I'm going to do a little journaling, maybe read a little bit of my Bible tonight before I go to bed. I'm going to do up dishes, of course, and take my trash in a bag, and I'm going to take it a little ways away from the camp so as not to attract any critters. And then I got a couple little things I can play around with. A couple things I could probably share. But just mostly just going to chill out and relax. Got a lot of things planned for tomorrow. And hopefully tomorrow will be a much more exciting day. The firewood was a little damp, so I decided to do a pseudo Swedish torch fire with some split larger pieces. And I've got some firewood out around the side dry. It looks like one of them actually caught on fire, so that's obviously dry. But I'm going to go ahead and move those around and replace them with a few other dry sticks, and hopefully I want to have good dry fire come tomorrow. Yeah, I checked all the firewood, and the firewood that wasn't already burning, it's all perfectly dry now. So I've got at least 2 decent fires out of that little batch. And I'd say most everything else is dry enough, so if I need to do this again tomorrow, I'll be able to. I put my lantern, my battery-powered lantern, LED lantern, in the back of the cave, and that shelf that it's on is actually a shelf that protrudes about another 8 to 10 feet from the very bottom back of the cave where I'll be sleeping. Now you can see all that dripping coming down from the ceiling. And so the inside of this cave is pretty wet. I'm actually just going to show you the area that is underneath where the lantern is. There's the lantern. As you can see, this portion of the rock shelter goes back quite a bit deeper, and that area through there is dry, and this area right through here, that's the area that I'm going to be putting my sleep system this evening. I just want to take a minute to show you a nice little gift I received from Christmas. It's the Uco Uco. It's the Uco Candle Lantern Kit. And it comes in this really thick neoprene container protected in your pack because the globe is glass. And this particular kit comes with the candle lantern, which is typical. It comes with a bail and a nice chain with a hook on it so you can hang it in your tent or what have you. And you just go ahead and pull it up like that, and you drop the globe down just enough for you to be able to see the wick. And put your globe back up. Locks into position. You can set it on a rock, a stump, or you could hang it in your tent. The nice thing about this is that you never want to have an exposed flame in your shelter. And something like this you could even have inside of a debris shelter, because there's no way the flame is going to get to any of the debris to ignite it. Another neat thing about candles is that they can actually be a heat source. Now, you may find that hard to believe. However, when I was a kid, we used to pile up great big piles of snow when we had these big snowfalls, and then we'd burrow into them and we'd hollow them out and we'd turn them into our version of igloos. And I remember one night we went out there to play, and a couple of kids brought in candles and put them inside the igloo. It got really, really warm. I was actually able to take my coat off and my sweatshirt off. I was in this igloo with just my t-shirt on, with 2 or 3 other neighborhood kids and 2 candles. And it was nice and warm. So if you had a debris shelter and it was made properly, and you got about 3 feet of debris on top of it, and you have some way to cover the opening, whether it's a emergency space blanket, anything like that, heavy duty space blanket, something to prevent the wind to get in and the heat to get out. This could actually create enough warmth to increase the temperature in there a few degrees. Now, I don't know, I haven't tried it, but I know how a couple candles worked inside the igloo when I was a kid. And I just thought that was really, really cool. There's a little window on the side for you to see how much of your candle's left, because there's a spring in the bottom that pushes the candle up as it melts away. And once it gets to a certain level, the little metal collar in there heats up and shapes it as it goes. So you always have the flame above the metal collar. And that little window allows you to see how much of the candle you have left. Now, I think this particular candle is a 12-hour candle, and that means it can burn for 12 hours. The kit came with one additional candle as well, and in order to change out the candle, you simply unscrew the bottom, candle slides right out. And if you're ready to extinguish it, I haven't tried blowing into the top, but you will need to use some decent thickness of gloves to slide that globe down to blow it out if you're extinguishing it that way. Now, by no means is this as bright as my LED lantern. However, the nice soft glow that it produces is much more warmth to the light than that really harsh white LED. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I'm just sitting there around waiting for it to get late enough for me to go to bed. And I just thought I'd share that with you. Well, folks, it's getting close to bedtime. I went ahead and set up my sleep system, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. And tomorrow, when we actually have light, I'm going to walk you through the whole thing. But as a matter of fact, I'm not going to tell you about it. I'd be redundant, because I'm going to tell you about it tomorrow. Gosh. Jeez, some people. Anyway, I'm getting ready for bed. I'll give you a quick peek of where I'm snoozing tonight. There it is. Just about the only place in the entire rock shelter that is not dripping, that is level enough and long enough to lay my sleep system. I already know we're going to have bugs. I already had slugs crawling around. As long as they stay off my face, we'll be good to go. Again, this was not the original plan, but this was one place that I knew I could come straight here because I knew where it was. I knew I had firewood. I knew I had water, and to bed down. Not the greatest thing, but it's shelter. I'm in a dry spot. I have fire. I had food. I have water. I have everything that I need. So I'm not going to be picky. Folks, I'm going to get a turn in, and I'll see you tomorrow. Morning, folks. Wow, it was an interesting night's sleep. I have no clue how cold it got last night, but there was no frost on the ground this morning when I got out. But I woke up about 2 hours after I went to bed. I went to sleep with just my skivvies and my base layer shirt on and a dry pair of socks. It was fairly comfortable until about 2 hours later. And then I woke up and I had to go relieve myself. And it wasn't one of those kind of relieving yourselves, oh no, I gotta go pee. It was sort of like my body was saying, John, you're cold and we don't want to heat up this urine, so get rid of it so we can warm you up. And so I got up and relieved myself, and by the time I got back to my sleeping bag, I was in convulsive shivers. And so I got back in my sleeping bag and pulled on my merino wool lowers, and I have a sleep shirt. It's a little heavier than my base layer. Pulled that on, and it warmed me up a good little bit. So I got a few more hours sleep. Then I woke up again, same situation. So this time I decided to add my insulation multiplier, which was my Swagman roll. And I simply used it just like a top quilt in a hammock. I unzipped the side all the way down to about that far from the bottom, and there's a Fastex buckle right there. It keeps it from opening up any further. So I pulled it over, pulled it right over top of me, just like a regular top quilt, and I was able to get some pretty comfortable warmth out of that. My Ecotech inflatable air pad, as long as I was laying flat on my back, it was fairly comfortable. However, when I rolled over to my side, the hard point of my shoulder, hard point of my hip, compressed the sleep pad to the point to where I didn't have a whole lot of insulation between me and the bottom, and so I got cold spots. They weren't horrible, but they were enough to be annoying. And one of the things I did do, and I'll probably show it to you here in a few. Right now the light conditions in the cave is not great. I have an opening right here, so I'm getting some light coming down on me, so I don't have to use my little spotlight system I had rigged up last night. I brought my Seek Outside Thermalite Reactor 1 with me, because I started thinking about it. If I'm going to be using the sleep pad inside the sleeping bag, and I'm going to have skin contact with it, I know that's not comfortable from prior experience. So I slid the Thermalite Reactor 1 over top of it,
and it really, it worked very, very well. As a matter of fact, I could feel a difference with the insulative quality as well. So the next time I come out, I'll be using the Reactor 2 over top of it. One of the things I did is when I slid it on, the reactor system's sleeping bag liners are like a sleeping bag. We have a large domed or a U-shaped section on the back of the head, and it's straight across the front. When I slid it on, got in there, I had the lower section on the front. Next time I come out, I'll be putting the high section on the front. That way I don't have the problem with my shoulders. As I was adjusting myself, it was a little bit at an incline. When I adjust myself to get up, that would slide down a little bit, and I could feel the temperature difference between the air mattress, which was exposed, and the top of the Thermalite sleeping bag liner. So the sleeping bag liners are going to be a must-have for me in the future, and putting it on with the long side on the front is going to be the next thing. And I think even though I was cold a couple times last night, having convulsive shivers is not fun. It's not fun at all. It takes you a good little while to warm back up again, and it's just very, very unpleasant. However, I believe, for me personally, the worst thing about having to camp here last night, and it was out of necessity, was the fact that I had no place to sit down. I had like 2 or 3 little spots of sand that my kit was sitting on so it wouldn't get wet, or where my fire was, and where my sleeping system was going to go. And it was not really good, comfortable seating underneath that rock shelf. So right now, my back's feeling it today from standing up the whole time, hiking the 4 miles in with the pack, everything. I just hadn't done it for a little while, that distance anyway, so my back's a little sore. But other than that, everything that I wanted to test out with that sleep system, I'm only using the Special Forces 1 bag. It's rated at 40, and or 41. And the low last night was supposed to be 41. I believe it had to have been in the upper 30s in the wee hours of the morning. And either that or it's just the conditions I was sleeping in. I know back in the day people used to use caves for refrigeration. Who knows? But I was able to get a good test run with this. I know a few more things I'm definitely going to do next time I take this out. And so it was a good run. A couple very uncomfortable points last night, but other than that, it was a good night. I woke up about 6, still dark. Woke up again around 7. The light had come up, but I was finally very nice and comfortably warm. So I decided I was going to stay in just a little while longer. So I got another hour's sleep. And I think all in all, even with the interruptions, I probably got between 6 and 7 hours, which is good. That's good. And I'm feeling pretty good this morning. And I'm very anxious to see what the sky is going to do today, and if it's going to continue to be gray or not. So I got a few things I want to do today, a few things I'm going to share, and right now I'm going to get myself some breakfast. This morning the breakfast menu is country skillet. This is one of my favorite Mountain House meals. When I first started stirring this up a few minutes ago, it occurred to me that yesterday, before I came out, the only calories I had took in for the entire day were 3 silver dollar pancakes and a couple slices of bacon. That was it. That was the only calories I took in prior to coming out. And I would say that that had a lot to do with my convulsive shivers last night during the middle of the night. I had no fuel to run on. I had the Black Shin before I went to bed, but I'd say in total I'm looking at maybe about 800 to 900 calories, maybe less than 1,000 calories yesterday. There's absolutely no wonder my body was trying to do everything it could to get me warm. I just didn't have any fuel there anymore. I'm going to eat this and get all this in me. A few snacks I'm going to take in. So I'm going to make sure I calorie up, hydrate up this morning before I break camp. And then I'm going to go around and see what kind of adventure I can get into today and bring you along with me. Before I start breaking down camp, I decided to show you around because we really didn't get a chance to see any of it last night. This right here is one of my beautiful views. And I'll probably get some shots of this stream as I'm headed out. But this is the beautiful area that I'm camping in. This is my camp layout. And hopefully this will be light enough to where you'll be able to see everything okay. That's my sleep system. I have my gaiters laying beside there, my pistol belt and suspenders, and my hat, and the bags that all that goes into. And part of that system, it's the Special Forces 1 sleeping bag. It's the Ecotech sleep pad, inflatable. I have the Seek Outside Thermalite Reactor 1 covering over the sleep pad. I forget the brand name of the inflatable pillow. I have an inflatable pillow in there. And I have my Swagman roll. Swagman roll has definitely proven its pudding over the past several years. And I have a small cheapo LED lantern back there. I was able to read a little bit with that last night before I went to snooze. This right here, of course, is my big camera. And this is all my cooking paraphernalia and food is in there. Got my notepad out. I was taking some notes. Definitely learned a lot last night, and definitely wanted to write all of it down so I don't forget it. And this is basically my kitchen. And my cookware and my firewood, what's left of it. I burnt quite a bit last night, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave that there. Chances are I'll be the next person to see it, even if it's 6 months to a year from now or more. And that was about the only dry spot I could find for my backpack. And I've got my load cells there with a couple different things. I've got my bushcraft patrol rig, Molly 2 waist pack that I've got all my essentials in. I've got my camera bag and my backpack with a rain cover. You can see just how wet everything is in here. This right here is damp. That right there is about the only real dry spot other than way back in the back. And even my heavy-duty space blanket is laying on some damp stuff, but it was not sopping wet. Every single place else is just dripping. And the shelf there, it's nothing but a layer of goo. There's some moss and some silt, and it's all just absolutely saturated. And that right there would have been phenomenal if that were dry. That would have been a perfect camp kitchen. I would have been able to set down. It would have been nice. As it is, it was provided everything I needed, and so I can't complain too much. It could have been a whole lot worse. And it looks like the skies are going to stay gray for us today. And it's absolutely beautiful here.
Let's take a quick look around. Now, all of these rock shelters are on tiers. It continues to go up. A couple more tiers above me. I've got lovely boulders. And there are intermittent streams that come off of these rock shelters that lead down to the main streams. And only when it's really fairly dry does the waterfall there stop running. I've been out a couple times that it wasn't flowing. So we had, you know, almost a drought situation then. So this is my camp. And now it's time to start tearing it down. Well, folks, I'm all packed up and pretty much left the rock shelter as I found it. Good. Let's take a look around. That's where I slept. And this is my extensive wood supply for whoever comes by. Left a lot of footprints. And that's just about it. I left some little bit of debris there that will biodegrade. I'm scraping my firewood. Other than that, I'm ready to roll. Well, I've made it almost halfway back to my vehicle. And since I got virtually no pretty footage, scenic footage yesterday, I decided I'd go ahead and try to shoot as much as I could on the way back. My battery died before I made the hike down here, and I decided to just go ahead and wait till I got here to change my battery. The journey in, the trail, is pretty treacherous, and I wasn't really going to be able to get much footage there, so I decided to play it safe. This is the spot where I used my Light Fighter 1 bivy shelter
And this is where I would have loved to camp yesterday. It is perfectly dry. There's no drips anywhere in here. Very level. There's tons of leaves here if I wanted to sleep on the leaves to give a little bit of extra insulation, things like that. But however, the trip down to get water is it's a long trip down and even a longer trip back up. And as far as firewood goes, about 2/3 of the way down there is a deadfall that looks like it's got some decent branches on it that I could have cut off and batoned. However, there's the whole ordeal of dragging everything back uphill. And as I learned yesterday, by being undernourished, having too little calories in my body, that would have probably done me in much earlier on, and it would not have been good. I'm going to go ahead and take a respite here. There's a couple other little things I'm going to be shooting while I'm here, so I'm going to be here for a good little while, and those will all be their own individual videos. I'll give you another look around before I leave, and hopefully be able to give you a little bit more footage on the way back to the vehicle. So far it's been an incredibly relaxing, therapeutic time in my secret fun spot. And, it's too bad I have to go back to today, but that's okay. That's okay. I got a little bit of woods time in, my woods therapy, and I'll be back again soon.
Well, folks, I spent a good bit of time shooting some other videos, and you'll be seeing those here shortly. I'll get those published as soon as I can. And the day has crept up on me again, and it's about 3:35, and I'm about two-thirds of the way to go back to my vehicle, and hopefully I'm going to be able to do that and get there before dark. But it's all part of the fun. Now, the only bad thing about going back to the vehicle, it's all uphill, so I'm going to be moving a little bit slower than what I did coming in yesterday. This was not the video that I envisioned. I had planned on being here much earlier in the day yesterday, and definitely not doing most of my video work in the dark. I was really wanting you to see me setting up the camp. I was wanting to show off my sleep system as I was setting it up, but X, Y, and Z just worked against me. And you know, I tried to do the best I could with what I had, and I certainly hope you got something out of it. I hope you got a little bit of enjoyment out of it. And it is what it is. But anyway, folks, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.